Okay, so now we know it's recording, and basically, I just want actual recording is higher quality. Okay, good enough. I just want to figure out how to record conversations for fun with people. It gives a uploading thing at the top. I don't know what you see on your side, so um, and I don't even know if I'm guessing whatever layout it is afterwards, we can do whatever we want with the
I would
layout.
assume so.
Because when I changed, yeah, because everybody was talking about how good this platform is.
I know a
Even
bunch of
Hanze
people.
mentioned.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know a bunch of people use it to like record their podcast, but I don't know much about it.
Me neither. So this is the first. This is the first go, and then I know Jeff was mentioning it too. And we were supposed to hop on stuff, but it's hard with him with kids and
Yeah,
everything. So never did that. But yeah. So how's it going, Sean? Haven't chatted with you in on video for a while. We chat all the time
yeah.
on
I
the
was like,
phone.
I
Um,
feel like I talk to you basically every day in some way, shape, or form.
Pretty much, pretty much memes or anime or something, right?
Basically, a combo of all of it.
Yeah. So we'll just talk about like the basic stuff because I want this to be a conversation and we're recording and I'm not used to this, so I'm sure it's going to be a little awkward
Eh,
at times. The training thing I sent you, the 12-minute one, do you check it out?
Watched like a couple minutes of it. I haven't had the time to like sit down and like really look at it, but it seems decently solid for like especially like an intro thing.
So yeah, so I just been doing that for the last few days, and I don't know how to share stuff on this yet or add links in or
Yeah, we'll
anything.
figure it out.
It was some foundational training off YouTube. It's 12 minutes. If I figure out how to record this and upload this, whatever, I will link it in the description because it's helping out a lot. Um, so I saw it on an Instagram post, and they're talking about doing this daily. And the people that were talking about it were not like heavy weightlifters; they
Mhm.
were extreme sports people, like BMX, snowboarding, stuff that just destroys your
Yeah,
body when you crash.
yeah. They need a bit of
So
resilience.
exactly, exactly. And this workout is like it's just like poses that you're holding your body in, and I have to say, it hits every single part where I have pain right now.
That's interesting.
And yeah, like every single, just those parts. Like it's like I can go to the gym now, and finally after like last October, like I could actually work out again after like 5 to 7 years, like a proper
Oh, dude,
workout.
that's right.
Go for an hour, half an hour, have a good time, right? And now this thing, 12 minutes, I can't get through half of it without breaks, and then I have to take breaks to finish it. I did it yesterday, and I've been doing it every day since I sent it to you. I think I sent it to you on Sunday or Saturday or
I think
something
it's
like that,
Friday
right?
or Saturday. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So since then, I've been doing it every day. After yesterday, I did it, sat down, I passed out. More draining than a full workout, and it's only that long. So yeah,
Did you get through it without breaks?
with you saying your hips,
Did you get
pardon?
through it without breaks that time?
No, still
Okay.
breaks. I can't do breaks yet, and I went back to the first one because they did an updated one, and the updated one is just as good, a little different. But I don't know, like how they explain it is like working on the
Hmm.
fascia, not the muscle, more so because you have the holds or whatever. And with you saying you have some of the limitations from your injuries as well, I really want to see what you think when you try
Yeah.
it, because
I have time. I can look at it, like actually watch the whole video
well,
for
it's
this.
12 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you can freaking put it on and just try it and be like in pain. Um, but it's wonderful because like even while I'm doing it, I can feel adjust like my I can feel the bones like release. Like it's wild. It's wild.
It's a
Weird.
great and
Wild.
weird feeling when that happens.
Yeah, yeah. So I would like to see because you do more powerlifting and like the Olympic
Hmm.
weightlifting stuff. So I would like to see how it works on your body compared to me because I'm just having fun. I want to try this. I just try. I want to do maces. I have no
I mean,
consistency with
listen,
how
my
I work out
background
right
is
now. I just
weightlifting and
have fun.
powerlifting, but I'm definitely not a weightlifter or powerlifter anymore.
You know what? When I see you start posting more things that are not in the gym and you're doing other things, then I'll agree with you.
That's fair. I still like the barbell. Like, don't get me wrong.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that I get remember we know each other more remotely than in
Yeah,
person, right? So I get exposed to what you post. So to me, you're still a weightlifter and a powerlifter, right?
that's fair.
So yeah. Um, any other cool life updates going on or no? Like that you're working on? Any projects?
Nah, just trying to grow business right now. Training for that bike.
So what are you doing in that right now?
Huh?
Like what are you doing in the business side of things that you're working on in the back that you're trying to promote more and things like that?
Trying to refocus on building the online one-on-one versus anything else right now. Like, I spent a little bit of time like
Yeah.
looking into the idea of kind of like what a lot of other people are doing with the let me do a free Facebook group, grow a community there, but I just not as into that one.
Not your
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Like I'm not as into that one. I want to be able to like work one on one with people either in person or online and like
And again, just so I know better, your business and your coaching is more training, not just like one-on-one coaching as a
yeah,
whole.
it's primarily fitness and nutrition. I do have a few clients that like we go a bit more beyond that. I'm not a huge fan of
Yeah.
the phrase life coach, but like that's kind of what it is. Like I'm
Yeah,
helping you
accountability
put two
partner.
and two together on like here's all the things that like
Yeah.
I've learned in the gym that can apply to other places. And also like
Yeah. And
here's
then
another person to keep you accountable on, hey, you said you wanted
yeah.
to start doing X, Y, and Z. Have we taken any steps towards it? What is
Yeah. Okay. So like, accountability
yeah.
partner. Yeah, I get that. Like that's basically like I like the online community idea just because I like the community thing. I
Yeah.
really do
And
like that.
I like being a part of the community.
Yeah. Don't want to run it
Like
though.
I don't
Right.
feel
Yeah.
like I want to run it or that I'm like the guy that's gonna be good at running it at this point. Like a few
Yeah.
years down the road, if it starts to grow into something where it's like, oh hey, I kind of feel like I need this and like this would be good, like I have no problem doing it then. It's just right now.
Again, it's one of those things that like as you grow the business, the things will appear what you need to
Yeah.
do, right? And focus on what you like, and then you'll go from there. Because just because you're part of one community and it's human nature. Like, oh, another community is going to be exactly the same. It's not going to be the
No.
same. It's going to have a different flavor, different texture,
Also, like you probably don't
and
want it to be the same.
no, not at all. Like, right? Like the each community is a little different, and like again, if the other community that if you start will be more training focused and heavy in that regard, and you can have a whole community around that, and then it doesn't have to dive into the other things.
Yeah.
You can be like, hey, you can read these books, but like to dive into those things, that's like a big self discovery journey on your own to a
Yeah.
degree, right? Well,
Which like
yeah,
that's been fun. Like you said, we know each other primarily online. Like we met through one of these
yeah,
groups, and like
yeah.
there's parts of it.
And I don't mind saying the group name. We met through Not Dead
Oh
Yet.
yeah, we met
So
through
if,
Not Dead
if
Yet.
anybody wants to check that out, yeah, yeah. We know the name, so we if somebody again, I want to record a conversation just for us,
Yeah.
but we have to also remember that I want to put it online just to learn video
Yeah.
editing and learn things, right?
See,
I can't.
I didn't use the name not because I was like hiding the name. It was because
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh yeah, we should
yeah,
probably say that. Yeah,
yeah. But
Not
like,
Dead Yet. Like various of the books and everything that have been like suggested. Like I've checked out multiple of them, and there's some that I'm like, yo, these are great, and I've recommended other people. And there's others that I'm like, not for me. That's fine. I can
yeah,
take
we talk all the time. You know how I say like sometimes I'm like, yeah, I just keep my mouth shut because I'm like I want people to grow with what they're learning, and I just might be trying a different approach to
yeah.
things because it works for me a little bit differently. And I don't want to rock the boat that it doesn't because everything's a tool for the right
Oh
person,
yeah.
right? Right? And if it's not going to be the right tool for me, I'm like, why would I put it down? I don't want to do
Yeah.
that
Like
because
using
it
training.
still will
Yeah,
help some.
using training as an example. Like I said a couple minutes ago, I still love the barbell. I've also had
Yeah,
multiple clients in my career that like they don't touch a barbell. Like
yeah.
it's not the right tool for them.
So when you first started, because I'm sure now you're okay with it or whatever. When you first started, and they said, "I don't want to use a barbell or whatever." How did you approach it?
It was weird. Like at first I was like, why?
Yeah.
You told me you want to get stronger. Like
You were also one dimensional back then too, then,
yeah,
right?
because
So
I was fresh into it. I was like, yeah, this is the way to get stronger. Like, why wouldn't you?
yeah,
And then, like, getting stronger and being strong is for everybody, but the definition
yeah,
isn't always going to be the same. Like,
exactly.
it was an older gentleman actually. Like, he told me he was nervous of the barbell because when he was young, he hurt himself and never touched it again since. And I was like, okay, cool. So
Yeah,
there's a bit of a fear. We can work around that. Also, you want to be strong enough that you can comfortably walk around the zoo with your grandkids all day. I don't need you to
yeah,
squat a couple 100 pounds for that. Okay, cool. I can make those adjustments.
yeah. Yeah, because like I always get in I'm gonna say discussions, not arguments. I'm always get discussions with people because I always try to say that they say you have to do this way. I'm like, okay, so if the body moves in a certain direction, like if I can bend like weirdly and like this, if the body can move that way, why can't I strengthen that modality?
Like I'm a
Right?
big issue is sounds so dramatic, but like the people like your spine should never move. I was like, your spine is controlled by so many different muscles, and if you can't move your spine, you're going to cause more problems. Now,
Yeah,
learn how to safely move it under load. Don't just free
yeah.
willy it.
Have you? I was stumbling across YouTube and I saw this one person was talking about how a lot of the literature in the past would be talking about the spine and the muscles are just attached to the spine and kind of how it
Hmm.
works. And they say the spine holds up the muscle, which another frame of thinking is the muscle, the tissues, and everything is actually what holds up the
Yeah.
spine. So, or not spine, so the skeletal
Hmm.
body as a whole. Like, yes, it attaches to it, but without everything else, the skeleton just collapses on the ground. And the muscles actually hold the spine up. I keep on saying spine. Hold the skeleton up, like the San Francisco Bridge. You know the
Hmm.
tension of the wires, like that. That's how the muscles actually hold everything up. And when you think of it that way, muscles are made to move. So if it's made to move,
Oh
then
yeah.
the spine's supposed to go with
Hence
it,
why there's a
right? So
reason that every muscle has an antagonist.
yeah, and like I always explain, like I go to from like I've been in 14 car accidents and injuries in the gym and all these other things, and you go to a physiotherapist, they get you to do these limited range of motion movements, which are good for the
Yeah.
beginning, but then they don't really progress beyond that. And I'm like, what a I'm throwing my back out not when I'm lifting the heavy weight. I'm throwing my back out when I'm lifting a sock and just bending
Yeah.
down. So shouldn't I fix this motion right here, not that? You know what I mean? And I would get in discussions about this, and I'm like, and people are like, no, you got to do this, you can't do that. I'm like, but like before you read a literature, or before there's any books about working out, and you have to work like I grew up on a farm, you have to go out and
Yeah.
work. You're lifting stuff in awkward positions, wheelbarrows, things that are not like levelly balanced in any way, shape, or form. The ground's uneven. You just like you lift it, and you
I would
do
say
it,
one of
right?
the
And then you strengthen that modality.
one of the big problems, and I don't know if it's the same in Canada, so you can tell me I'm completely wrong about this. But one of the
Hmm.
problems that I've come across with physical therapy and like talking to physical therapists is it comes down to like what they can bill insurance sometimes, where it's like, oh hey, we're gonna do these small things because that's what on paper says is where we start. Oh cool,
Okay.
your insurance will only bill for this many sessions. We're just gonna get through those then, and then if you progress faster than that, it's kind of a well, get good at them, and it's like but you're not helping now.
Okay. So I've been the type of person, I think this depends on who you are as a person. I go to a therapist, and if they're not useful to me, I leave them almost immediately.
Yeah, you also have the understanding that
And I'll
they
just,
work for you.
oh yeah, we've had this talk before. I brought this up to people in the group. I'm like, when you have to go to a doctor, any doctor, it's a service
Yeah,
industry,
some
right?
people don't realize that.
Yeah, because they're going to work there, and then you're going there for a service, and they're supposed to do a good service for you. And sometimes, again, you know how people are with egos. They think that because they book and they know they're an expert in this one niche thing, they forget the things that are just adjacent to them that might help even better,
Oh
right?
yeah,
We were talking about the quote, the Renaissance quote. It's better to be a master of one, not instead of a master.
it's
Let me
the
look it up.
the jack of all trades thing.
Yes, that's the one. But let me pull it up. I just want to make sure
Yeah, I
I
was
say
like,
it
make
right
sure you say it
because
right
I
because
like
like
that.
the
We were
end of
talking
it
about
is the part that people cut off all the time, and it's like that's the important part.
Jack of all trades. Okay, the full quote is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yeah,
That's the whole one, I
yeah,
believe,
that's
right?
the whole
Yeah.
part. It's most people leave off the is better than master of one.
Yeah, after the first comma, I was like, jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. And I always mix it up because like they say Renaissance man, where a person knows like a little bit of everything, right? So, but yeah, like I always thought that when I first heard the full quote, I'm like, this makes so much more
No,
sense,
dude, the
right?
first time I heard the full quote, I was like, oh man, like how? Why did we drop that? Like,
Yeah. What was the other quote we were talking about that we didn't have the full one to? We was another one we were discussing,
it was the iron sharpens iron one.
and that was from you shared. That's a
Yeah,
Christian thing. I didn't know that.
it's a Bible verse,
Okay.
but most
I
people
read
use
it.
it.
Would that be a quote, or would that be is that a, it's not quote? Is that is quote considered a quote?
I would still say it as a quote. Like it's a quote from the Bible.
Proverbs. Sorry, I always because like again,
Oh, so
Hindu, Sikh,
Proverbs is a
I forget.
specific book in the Bible. That's why it's a proverb.
Okay, and then you know what? This is a question for me now. When there's those numbers afterwards, is that like a chapter and
So
page?
it's
27.
Proverbs is the book, chapter
Okay.
whatever, verse this. So it's whatever line it is.
Okay, so chapter 27, verse
Yes.
17. Got it. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Like, it's one of those things that, like, even growing up in first generation in Canada in the West, right? Like, I hear these terms and it kind of goes in one ear out the other because it just doesn't register. Like, I've heard that this means this,
Yeah.
but I wanted to
Do
ask
you
now to
guys
be
not
sure.
have like a not a Bible,
So,
but like a
it,
text?
yeah, so we have the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana. There's one for Krishna as well. There's many different books, whatever. But being first generation here and not fully being able to read my language, right? Growing up the language of my
You
parents,
can't read whatever is it?
no, I can understand Hindi, I can understand Punjabi, and then there's one dialect of Urdu that's very similar, where some words might be off, but I can still get it when you're having a
Okay.
conversation. As I got older, growing up not with my own community, I've lost this ability to speak, and I don't have the confidence, to be honest. Like, understand it, I don't have the confidence. So, what's very funny is, like, on the job, when I would get called to a call and there would be, like, an Indian person or something, I just tell them, basically, speak in Hindi, speak in Punjabi, I'll understand it because they can also understand English. They just can't say it a full sentence
Oh, okay.
smoothly. So we can have a full conversation. They're living this country. They understand
Yeah.
English, but it's not their first language. So they can speak to me in Punjabi or Hindi, and I can do broken Punjabi Hindi with some English, and we can get the full conversation,
Oh,
right?
that's fascinating. I never thought about
But
that.
yeah, so my exposure was going to temple is how I learned about Hinduism, and then we did it through like every generation has like movies about the religion,
Okay.
right? So we go through that, and then I went through like I think I've shared with you instead of going to like a fitness camp where I went to yoga camp as
Yeah.
a kid. So I learned like a lot of stuff through practice, and then my own self reading. And Hinduism is so broad that you can get a little niche here, and then that's what I gravitated towards. Like I'm half Hindu, half Sikh. Gravitated more to Hinduism because I like the mythology, the
Hmm.
stories. I like all that kind of stuff, and I don't know all of it
Wait,
by
is
any
Sikh
means.
that's another religion or is that
That's a different
a okay?
religion. It's a different religion. So how I was explained, and again, could be wrong, but uh, the Sikh religion started in the beginning to try to bring the Hinduism and Muslim religions together. Because you go back far enough in lineage, some of the people that are Sikh have a background of Muslim and Hindu, right? And there's 10 gurus. By the 10th guru, it became a warrior religion. Hindus and Sikhs became more together than Muslims, and then didn't grow up like I grew up going to the Sikh
Mm,
temples. I don't know as much about
okay.
it. I remember I used to actually read about it. I used to actually know a lot more about it, but since I don't read the literature that much, it doesn't stick with me. But Sikh religion has they believe in one God, and they're trying to bring everything together. How I was taught elders in the culture, Sikh and Hindu, and again, people are taught stuff through family. So some things are might not be exactly perfectly correct. It's like the Hindu religion has Om, right? Sikh has Ik Onkar, which I will explain is kind of like one Om. It obviously is something
Okay.
different, but that's how so one God, one Om, things like that. So again, and with Hinduism, how again first generation here blending in with Western culture, like it's more of a lifestyle than a full like religion at the same time because it's so broad. Like it got into the stories of Shiva. Just yesterday at the Mandir Hindu temple, we had Shivratri, which is a dedicated day for Lord Shiva. So you do prayers and things like that. And I always like Shiva because he's the god of destruction. So as a kid, sounds
Of
cool.
course.
Also, it's not like destroying everything. It's like if this is a house, if I want to build a new house here, I got to destroy what's here to rebuild over here.
Yeah.
So it's more the god of recreation and redefining yourself, right? So that's basically I've loved him since I was a kid. So I've always got into that. I have a tattoo on my shoulder is from Lord Shiva as well. Comes down in the female form, does a dance to destroy an evil and things like that. So this like when we're in the group, the not that dead group, a lot of things that coming brought up. I'm like, I kind of just because of my interest in the mythology, I kind of always had that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you got to destroy who you were to go where you want to go. I kind of naturally was like, you know what? If you choose A, it means you're not choosing something else. It might not be you're not choosing B, but it might be you're not choosing something else. And if you don't choose something, then that means you're choosing something else,
yeah,
right?
that makes
So
sense.
it's like you only have so much bandwidth. You know, like over here they say you only have so much bandwidth. You got to get rid of some things and focus on the next thing, right? It's the same conversation.
It's just it is one of those like kind of, at least it seems like, more ingrained in how you guys grow up being Indian.
Yeah, you know what? It's also I would say if you talk to different Hindus, they might be into a different deity and a different story and a different thing, and they got something else from it that works very well for their life, right? And again, just like Christians here, there's very devout Christians, and there's very ones that just say they're Christians on
Yeah,
paper, right? So it's all the same.
that's yeah, it's
We're
all
all humans, all the same, right? But I always gravitated towards the mythology. That's why, like, if I had to choose another religion, it would be like Greek mythology. Like, I just like the religion with stories
see like
in mythology because through stories you
yeah,
learn.
growing up Christian and like still being
Yeah,
Christian, I
yeah.
still love Greek and Norse mythology. Like I have
Norse I don't know as much of. Norse I know just a little bit because of Valkyries and stuff.
yeah,
That's about it.
like I have
So I don't know
the
much.
Norse version of Thor's hammer on my thigh because I was like,
Yes, I remember you showing
I
that before.
like the art of this. Like it's just super cool.
Yeah,
And like I like the stories. And I like growing up, there's a couple times where like run into the people that are very, very Christian and religious, being like, well, how do you
yeah,
like these stories? Or how do you read these and enjoy this and everything? And I'm like,
yeah. And how do you
yeah,
mentally
they're
blend
like,
them
how do you
together,
blend
right?
them?
And
And I
then
was
having
like,
both in your life.
this is a story. I'd say I'm reading a
Yeah,
book. Like it's the same thing. And they're like for some reason that was an idea that never crossed their mind. And then like that moment
yeah.
on, they're like, oh, okay. I was like, I can read this and not be like, this is what.
Yeah, it's like I dated a girl a long time ago, and her grandmother would have, I believe she explained like Krishna, Ram, and Hanuman, and then Jesus, all in the same thing together. And there is no issue with that at all in the family, in the culture, in anything. And I know other people that do the same thing. You'll have you have Hindu deities here, and then you have Jesus and Buddha. No issue. Like it's a lot of, again, like I've shared with you, a lot, like one of the things I liked when growing up about Hinduism is that I was taught that any religion can come to our temple and get married. You don't have to convert. Marriage is
Yeah.
marriage, right? All rivers go to the same ocean. Whoever you believe in, it's the same God. However you
It's
believe
also
in, right?
interesting to me
And
because you mentioned that, like, unlike most other religions, there is no converting to Hindu.
no, no, not at all. If you want to practice Hinduism, you just practice it. You read some books, you ask some people, show up at a temple. That's it. Nothing else. It's the same with Buddhism.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's the same in Buddhism. There is no converting.
So I only know
There's
of
no
Buddhism from like the Western view of it, and they say it as
see what.
converting.
Okay, you know what? This will be interesting. Tell me what Buddhism from the Western view, because I know it as a branch off the Hinduism, and it's like from the Nepal area. There was and the story is I always say the name wrong. Siddha there's a name, and I always, even if I read it, I'll mess the name up. Okay, it's in the Nepal area. He was a prince, son of royalty, and then he threw it all away because he wanted freedom, and he didn't believe in the extremes of some Hinduism, where some swamis and gurus would starve themselves for so long, or hold a pose for so long in yoga. He's like more of the middle way kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that's my knowledge of Buddhism. It's not showboaty, very much like centering yourself. Like, and the one difference growing up for me was whenever I would talk to somebody in Christianity, they would always talk about born in sin, and that never made sense to me because you're not born in sin in Hinduism. If anything, you're born positive. Buddhism very neutral. You're just born.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But I would like to know the Western point of view of how you understand or interpolate
So the
Buddhism.
way that it was always kind of talked about around me was like you just said, it's the most neutral of all the religions. It's just like Right, we're just our entire goal is to attempt to live a good life and see where we go next on the reincarnation thing and attempting to
Yeah,
hit what is it, Nirvana? I feel okay.
Nirvana. But I believe that's also a part of the Hindustan, right? Like reaching Nirvana, different
Yeah,
ways to reach it.
reach Nirvana, hit enlightenment, and then I've heard of like a couple different characters. I don't have a better way of putting it, where like
Hmm.
Buddha is the one that reaches enlightenment and does everything, and then there's another character that like their role is across all like I guess generations of anyone that's Buddhist is like they're trying to get everybody
Hmm.
to reincarnate before you or before them and then they can reincarnate or sorry, hit Nirvana.
Interesting.
But like for the most part it's just trying to be neutral and not boastful but not any
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's always kind of loosely talked
Well,
about.
so the first Buddha was that Siddhartha
Hmm.
guy. But then Buddha, the term, is whoever has reached enlightenment. You become a Buddha,
Okay.
right?
That I didn't know.
And that's how I was explained and taught. And I was reading about something recently that was in line with that. Obviously, somebody might point me differently if anybody even watches this. But yeah, I don't remember about the everybody reincarnating before you or the one person. I don't remember that. But the neutral way, I always remember the middle way, the middle path,
Yeah, that's the
right?
number one
So
way I hear it
yeah,
is like it's the neutral middle, and you're just trying to
yeah,
live a good life so that you can reincarnate to whatever the next level up is each time.
yeah,
But then, like,
yeah.
the phrase converting to Buddhism is said a lot in the West, that from what I've noticed.
Yeah, well, I think so. I've been talking to a few of the other guys about Rory Sutherland. Have you heard of him? I mentioned to him to you too, didn't I? Rory Sutherland. He's a marketing guy. He's been around forever
Yeah,
online.
yeah, yeah.
He does a lot of keynote speaking. And I found him a few years ago, and just recently got back into a bunch of his content. Like I love when he speaks because when you see him on camera, he's so engrossed in the conversation. You can tell that this is how he speaks whether the camera's there or not. And I like that because he just goes on tangents here and there. And he said a sentence, how he explained it is from one of his Hindu friends, is that a lot of people in the West have monotheistic or one theory has to have a solution for everything
Yeah,
because
that's the
of the
part you and I
religion.
talked about.
Because yeah, and I sent you the clip,
Yeah,
right? And because he says it goes back to because of the religion has only one God, so there's only one truth,
yeah.
right? So, and he said Hinduism is polytheistic, so there's many ways to get to the truth,
So,
right? Just because, and it's just how we always say two things can be true at
yeah,
once, right? So why can't it be there or there? But I just and listening to him talk, like I really thought about it for a bit. Like it's not even you have to be part of the religion. If you grow up in the West in a Judeo-Christian society where that's basically the underlying thinking, you don't have to talk about it. It's how everything is put
yeah,
together. It's kind of so structured, right? It's very interesting when he said that because being first generation and growing up in Hinduism and the multi approach to, I would say the multi pronged approach to God. uh, it's very interesting because like I remember even having conversations with friends and they would say, "Oh, I can't do this. I gotta do this." I'm like, "Why can't you do both?" Like I would say that, and it's not like an extreme where I only have $10 left. It's either buy food or buy drink. And it's not like it's like there's things that like you could do
yeah.
both. Like they're not like two things can happen at once, right? So it's like our conversation about investing, right? I'm like, yeah, you're working this. Why don't you have this set up too? And you're like, I don't have a
Yeah, no,
response.
it's okay.
But like
Didn't think
that's I
about that.
think that's where a lot of my but I think after that and talking with you more and then other people in the group and listening to on the group calls or whatever, that's what I've been like internally trying to figure out. I'm like, it feels like a lot of people think everything has to be in absolutes.
Yeah, even though if you ask anybody, they're like, "Oh no, I know absolutes are the wrong answer." But like you're right, we
Yeah.
do fall into that being a thing.
Not saying that I don't either. There's
We're still
things that I'm
human.
into. Just be very
Give
clear.
me
I'm not saying
give me
that,
one quick
but
second.
I'm
I
just.
need to grab my charger.
Oh no, wrong. I'm gonna get a glass of water as well.
Sorry about that. Apparently,
No problem. Are you on? Okay. They usually have good
no,
batteries. No problem.
yeah, and like I had like 70% battery, and I was like, that's fine. Nope.
Oh, again, I also want to make sure if I do this thing, I want to have longer form content, like not content,
Yeah.
conversations, just because I want to record conversation. Like I said, I don't care about a podcast blowing up or conversations blowing up, whatever. I had this thought that, and it's partly because of how Matt posts stuff as well. And I had this funny idea, thought in my head. If you go back to the '70s, no social media, everything. What did people do when they traveled and everything? They took pictures and then they had slideshows and invited people over. All Matt's doing is doing that live on out in the world now. If you think about it,
You're not
right?
wrong.
Right? He's like, instead of inviting them over, look at my slideshow of the cool things
Uh,
I'm doing, or I'm seeing these things. He's doing that live where I've traveled and I just took pictures and never posted it. So I had that thought of like, oh, that's really interesting, right? So, um, yeah, I don't remember what we're saying, but that made me laugh.
so, okay, I know we've talked about this once before, but
Hmm.
we've talked about the fact that like Hinduism is polytheistic, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
So
can you just give me a link
generally,
to like actually like have a video's way
so
better than
the best way I relate to and how I explained it was when I first was explaining about Christianity, and this was, and again, very high level. I don't know the details of everything. So the Holy Spirit, the Father, and the Son.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so you believe in three gods? This is what I said to somebody. They're like, no, we believe in one God. I'm like, but you just said three. Like, right? Like it's just like the conversation you had about the Thor's hammer, right? It's just a book, and I just read another
Yeah.
book, right? So for me, I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, so you believe in three gods? No, we believe in one God, but God came down as Jesus. So that's his son, somebody different, no, the same person. I'm like, I'm confused now. But think about Hinduism exactly like that times 1,000
Okay.
infinity.
So it's just one that can then disperse into whatever
Yeah,
thing.
basically, God is God, and you know when you say namaste, namaste means I'm honoring the God within you, or bowing to it, or
Hmm.
whatever, however you want to translate it. But that's how I explain it. There's still a trinity there too. There's Brahma, Krishna, Shiva, or Brahma, Vishnu. Vishnu, Shiva. There's a trinity there in the Hindu religion as well. And then there's so many derivatives because this person's got married to this person or had a kids, and then there's different stories there. The different it's very Greek
Okay.
mythology, very very similar in how the approach is. But we believe in one God, and ultimately all of it leads back to the same source.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? So when I was first explaining about Christianity with the Trinity there, I'm like, oh, so you believe in three gods? Like, no, it's only one. But I'm like, okay, so how hard is it to understand that Hinduism is one God, but instead of three, infinity? Whatever people like, I don't even know how many gods are in the Hindu religion. To be honest, I just know my
No, I was
niche.
gonna say like you explaining it this because like I said, we've talked about it before, but like you
Yeah,
explaining it this time in like a call, it that makes more sense.
yeah.
Like
Okay, there you
I
go.
can
So yeah,
follow what you're saying.
that's how I explain it, and I haven't had much pushback from uncles and aunties when I shared it before. Well, because like they grew up in India with the culture, right? So they know more than me from a different
Yeah.
approach than I do, right? They grew up in it because like it's like if you grew up in Christianity, there's so many Christians you know that never read the book, but they're devout Christians,
Yeah.
right? They just believe in the teachings that they were taught by their family and the community they're in. Same in India, same in other
Yeah,
places
that
in the
makes
world.
sense. Like I've read the Bible cover to cover once in my life.
Oh, okay,
My wife and I do like Bible studies at night, like through one of the apps. There's one that we just
nice.
did. It's called the Book of James, and like going through it, I'm like, I know I've read this before, but this
Yeah.
feels like I need to reread this book, and like
So you're having a different understanding
either
now.
a different understanding or I also read through the Bible when I was like 14 or 15. I
Yeah,
don't doubt that there was multiple times while reading it, I was reading to complete, not reading to understand.
understood. Yeah,
Now it's like
yeah.
I
I
was really trying
actually
to read to understand, and it's like, oh, this one needs another look.
yeah, and again, like I I so maybe because my Google search or our conversations or the conversation, you know how Google just knows
Oh,
everything.
everything.
I got pushed this ad for this thing about Hinduism. I'm like, oh, this is cool. It was like just a small fee. I think it was like 20, $30 or whatever. And I downloaded all these PDFs so I could learn a little bit more about Hinduism as well. Because I only know my niche and what my family knows because we gravitate toward these
Yeah.
deities and whatever, right? So this South India, they have a different approach to things and everything, right? So I love just the mythology and the stories, and from the stories you learn lessons,
Oh, for sure.
right? And that's how I approach all this thing, just learn lessons. And because if the story is that much more cooler, it sticks more. So,
Why do you
um,
think you and I can have hour-long conversations about manga and anime
oh yeah,
and like
I actually told Brian Pierce. I told him that he has to get into Soul Leveling right now. I told
he
him
needs to
already.
finish JJK first. Like,
He hasn't finished
no,
that
he hasn't
either.
finished season two. Like, he talks so highly
Well,
of
he's gonna
how much
be.
he loves it.
You know what? Let's be honest. He acts tough. He might just be emotional because it's a sad season. Everybody dies. Yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah, but I don't even know if we'll
and you know
finish
what? I
hitting it.
hope you clip this and post it publicly and embarrass him.
Brian,
There you go.
finish these things.
Exactly. Okay. Um. Yeah. But I told him to get into solo leveling because like I love the manga.
Oh,
It's so
it's
good.
fun.
That
One of my
that
buddies
comic
just sent
is.
me. I think I told you this already, but sent me the Google Drive of all of them, and I'm like, cool.
Oh, I can even give you a website that has it all, just so you
I
have
mean,
to.
it's on my phone now. Like he just sent me the link to it, and I was like, "Oh,
Perfect.
cool!
There
I
you
just
go.
read this whenever." But I'm like not
Yeah.
doing it until the season's over because, like, I bet the manhwa is super cool. I like.
You know what? I'm gonna say the artwork on the anime and the artwork on the manga are very much in neck and
Oh,
neck.
that's pretty cool.
Perfect. Okay. The manga is just like because you're reading it and there's so many chapters, like things just are happening fast in the anime. That's all
Yeah,
it
that
is.
makes sense.
I, that's all it is. But I'm not saying there's anything
Yeah,
wrong. This is happening. Like the second season where they fought all those red trolls or whatever they're called,
the
orcs.
high orcs. Yeah.
Yeah, watching that, I felt like I was reading the
Oh,
manga,
that's fun.
right? And it's just like the manga is like 200 plus friggin'
Yeah.
chapters, right? And then they have now. I started, and I forgot I fell off, but I started reading the second generation about his son.
It's like Ragnarok or something.
Yeah, I started reading that one. That was interesting too because now
Yeah.
it's like the son's.
I have a friend that's he's like up to date on all of it. And he was telling me that the best part of Ragnarok is it explains some things that solo leveling just get
Yeah,
into. And it's
yeah,
like,
the father and
yeah, it's
everything.
like
Yeah.
so much more world building added in, and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. He also said that the anime has been adding in a bunch more world building that wasn't present in the manga, which
Yeah,
hey,
you
good
know
for
what?
them.
It explains it a little bit better. Actually, it does actually in certain
Yeah,
levels. But his manga is only like such a. I think they could have gotten away with just doing like you know how the movie Dune,
yeah.
right? Those 3 hour long movies. They literally could have done that for Soul Leveling and done it really good
Oh, for
justice too.
sure,
Like,
especially with the studio that's doing
yeah,
it. But
yeah.
I think I'm gonna read it. Like I'm like 90% sure, especially now that it's at my fingertips. I'm like, I'm gonna read this. Part of me doesn't want
Hey, you know
to.
what? I just fell out of I fell out of Western superhero comics. That's all it was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of what it
like
is.
I used to read all those.
Yeah. But like
Yeah,
I might not read it if I can convince myself that the joy of solo leveling right now is not fully knowing what's going to happen. Because I like every once in a while.
I'm telling you, if you start reading it from the beginning, season two is gonna be done. You're gonna be reading this. It took me a year to finish.
Okay.
You're not gonna finish it that quickly. You have a life and shit to do. It took me a year to finish it, and I remember I was off work and I was reading it like aggressively.
That's fair.
So, because like I remember when I told you with the PTSD, I couldn't even read properly, right?
Oh yeah.
So manga was with short little bubbles helped me get back into reading.
Oh man, that's super cool. I didn't put that part together.
Yeah, that's why I actually got into manga. Like I was comics. I stopped reading comics for years. I got back into it because I couldn't read a book. That was before I could even like do audiobooks very
Hmm.
well because I couldn't concentrate. So that got me into excited. Okay, I got to read the next one. Next one it comes out, right? So like, and then like that actually helped me with the reading part, which then helped me with getting back out to like figuring out how to grocery shop. Like I know how to get to the grocery store. In the grocery store, I'm like, do I want this oil or this oil? I'll be standing there for 10 minutes. Like I don't know. Right. So I had to go with my mom one time. Just tell me what I need to buy. So then I'm like, I don't even care if I have it at home. We're just buying everything I need,
Man, PTSD
and for
sounds
like 2 or 3.
wild.
Well, you know what? It's different for everybody. That was how it was for me. So other people didn't have that. Other people had other parts of their life where it affected, right? So for me, it was just trusting my brain because the PTSD was related to my definition, my internal definition of right and wrong, and how it didn't mesh with what I went through.
Oh, that's okay. We haven't ever talked about like that part of
That,
it.
yeah, because that's a long
Oh
conversation,
yeah.
right? It's one of those things like the PTSD for me was not like unexpected car accident or whatever, like trauma in that regard. Mine was my internal definition of right or wrong. I always lived by that. I always did very good by that, and it matched with how I looked at the
Yeah.
world.
Also matched your.
Certain things went down where it made me, yeah, yeah, that, and it made me just like not have faith in the people surrounding me, their definition of right or wrong. Then there was mistrust with anybody I would run into.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah.
Does that
Oh,
make
that's
sense?
rough.
So then, when I had when I would have had to go to call with a partner, if I didn't know them, I wouldn't even feel comfortable with the person beside me, and they're supposed to be on my team.
Man. Okay.
So then it just anger, just nonstop anger and mistrust, just burns you out,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
dude. Like
then there's obviously
it's a
like a
rough
level
emotion.
of extreme exhaustion. Yeah, a level of extreme exhaustion, and then I couldn't read because like part of right or wrong is like all the books I've read in the past, everything I experienced in the past, right? So now I'm like mistrusting all of that. Where I explained to my psychologist, like I said to her, you know what? Because she was giving me coping mechanisms, I said, you know what? All these coping mechanisms are just coping, right? They're not solutions. I'm like, I'm gonna do the long road. I said that right. I actually said this to her. I'm gonna take it the long way. The long way is like every single thing I have to make a decision on from scratch, as if I'm an infant. I have to reassess everything from scratch, and I'm just gonna build from scratch.
Jeez.
And that's what I did. That's why it took me longer in some
Yeah.
regards, but faster in other regards. Because in the beginning, it's like the graph when you're first learning something is exponential and goes like
Hmm.
this. So in the beginning, it was very rough. It would be like week to week. My psyche even said week to week you're a different person because I went to like I didn't trust myself stepping onto a curb and down because of my body pain. So I went to everything. I went to bare bones of relearning how to walk properly because of all the pain I was in too. So I just like instead of fighting it, I have to do this.
Yeah. You're just like this isn't.
So
I don't have a choice. This is what needs to be done.
yeah, I'm like, no, but people fight it like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? I'm like, fuck this. I just need out
Yeah.
of this. So after I got off the meds, because the meds just made me sleep all the time, I just went the approach of, okay, this stuff is going on in my life. I don't trust anything. So starting from scratch, from how I speak, inflections of my tone of my voice, mistrusting conversation, whatever, learning from, okay, I want this kind of feel off, because usually I'm pretty good with conversation. Why did this feel off? Oh, this food that I used to eat that was, you know what, forever never bothered me now is a stress-induced intolerance. Okay, it's off the table. No
Yeah.
questions, no arguing, trying to not even be angry about it. Just it is what it is. Move on to the next thing that I have to figure out. And that's what I did from bare bones. I'm like, okay, now in the beginning is like I had to even get comfortable with driving again because I would always have my foot over the brake when I was going through any intersection or anything because I was hyper vigilant, so I was looking at everything
Yeah.
too
You're just
much,
waiting for something
and
to
then
go wrong.
exactly waiting for the other shoe to drop always, right? So yeah,
Like it
so
makes sense from what
that's
we've
how
talked
I did it,
about, but it's just one of those like.
and it probably makes sense with in the group when I share things and how I share things, how I approach
Oh,
things, right? I'm
100%.
like, well, just do this, right? So because like I'm more like get to the solution as fast as you can,
Yeah.
and then afterwards you can give it meaning if you want to.
You're also very much so in, at least from all the time I got to talk to you, like you have a good idea at this point what it is you like, what is you want to try, what it is of like. So you're just gonna go try it. Like we've
Yeah.
talked so much about
You
cooking,
know
where you're
what?
like, I want to get better at cooking again because I used to like it.
Yeah,
Let me
I
do
used to
that
cook.
and eat food that doesn't mess up my guts.
Yeah, well, growing up, we cooked everything from scratch from home, right? So I always bugged my mom. I even when we went to India as a kid, because the culture is like very masculine, feminine, different. I would go in the kitchen, I would just start cooking for everybody. They're like, "Why are you doing?" Even my grandmother, she's not alive with it anymore, but she would always get angry at me and tease me. Like, well, not tease, try to get angry at me, and because I was always way bigger than everybody there, she would always call me "Kamla Bacha," which means idiot child.
The term of endearment.
And yeah, but you'd say because you know how you probably have people in your family, you know people that like immediately go to anger right away, but they're not actually
Yeah.
angry. So she would do that, and then I'm like, and I couldn't speak Hindi as Punjabi as fast as they could have. Obviously, I try my best, and then I would give up. I just pick her up and move her out of the kitchen and close the door. And I cook for everybody, and I give everybody food, and she just laughed. And then afterwards, she understood that I'll just do things because I'm having fun
Yeah.
doing it. Like I don't care about the gender roles or anything because I'm still gonna go out and do guy things. But then when I'm home, I'm like, maybe I want to try something different. I saw something like this looks interesting, so let me
Also, I
try.
feel like
So,
everyone should know how to cook. Like, I don't think that should ever, I
oh,
don't
I
think that
think that's
ever
a
should be
bare
a gender role.
necessity. Like guy, girl, when anybody says that, like I don't care about gender, but for this, like if you are an independent person and you don't know how to take care of yourself, that is a red flag. I don't give a fuck about gender.
Yeah.
Like you can't take care of yourself. All you can do is get frozen packages and put in the oven. It's better than nothing, but at least like you got to learn to cook
Yeah, like
yourself. Some
use that time
like
of the frozen
home cooked
packages
food
to
feels
learn how to cook something. Also, there's everything's
yeah,
on the internet now.
and home cooked meals just taste so good.
Oh yeah.
If you think you did a really good
Well,
job,
there's
right?
like a couple studies that like the act of prepping food, your body
Yeah.
starts like releasing certain hormones and everything that is one, gonna
Oh, I
help
didn't know that.
digestion, and two, like
I did not know
adds a
that.
little bit of oh man, I don't remember the exact hormone, but like
You know what?
makes you a
Actually,
little excited.
in line with what you're saying, in line with what you're saying, because of gender roles in the past, the smell of cooking in the house for the people that aren't even cooking probably got that,
Yeah,
like the release of stuff too.
yeah. So
Oh,
like
okay, okay.
now that we're in such a fast society, that's one of the reasons that they say that we're prone to overeat now, is because we're not getting the digestion hormones
You said we're in a fast society or fast?
fast.
Okay, okay. Well, both.
Can lead to the same, but no, just like everyone wants everything as quick as we can.
Yeah, and we've had this talk. Like, I have this personal belief from reading and everything is that, like, you know how, oh, you have to have a time set aside for mindfulness, you have a time set aside for meditation, time set aside for this, time for this. I'm like, well, if you just had to cook from scratch,
Yeah,
you have to, you'll be singularly focused so you don't cut your hand off when you're cutting the
yeah,
vegetables. Like, you literally, you build in that stuff that you don't have to sit and do. Because if you're doing everything to be efficient, but what are efficient is like, the definition of efficiency is like it has to be efficient for a certain metric,
yeah.
right? What's the metric you're going for? Is the metric just financial? Is the metric just have more free time? So, okay, now you have all this free time and you're sitting there on your chair with nothing to do, twiddling your thumbs, and you feel depressed. The human body is made to do things.
Go outside and touch some grass. It might help.
Or or do some of your own chores. Like, you know what I mean? Like people like I had a when I was doing shift work all the time, I had a cleaning lady that came every other week. It was wonderful. In between, I still did everything. That little bit of help was great, but I still cooked everything myself. I did
Hmm.
this, did this. It worked perfectly, right? Now that I'm in a smaller space, I tried hiring a cleaning lady. I'm like, that makes no sense. I'm like, I can literally just, I'll spend on this for this day. I'll just do all the mopping. Next day, I'll just do my laundry. Next day, I'll do this, whatever. And without realizing, I can clean the house. You can clean the house in like what, an hour, 2 hours if you really
Yeah,
want to. Like my house is a lot smaller than before, so I'm like, I think a lot of the things that people where they feel lost and they don't know how to do things is like they just stop with, oh, I can't cook. I'm like, well, you can
yeah.
learn.
Most people,
I can't go to the
yeah,
gym.
we've talked like
You can
most
learn.
people have a hard time with the, hey, you might suck at something first, but like
I don't. Yeah, but isn't that the fun part?
I think it's the fun part. You think it's the fun part, but I know multiple people that will stop them from keeping pursuing it.
Yeah, because like if you go to a gym and you go with a roadmap that somebody gives you and you just follow that, you don't actually get to learn your own body. Yeah, you go lift a barbell, but you only know how to do that. Then you get injured. You have no idea how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's why the joys of coaching, because I do coach in the online space, communication is super important. Like,
Hmm.
I tell clients from the start, I'm like, hey, there's only really two things I specifically need from you consistently, and that's effort and communication. Those
Hmm.
two things will solve
Hmm.
80% of the problems we're going to come across, if not even 90%.
Yeah, well, effort and communication will probably solve it most all of it sometimes. I
Yeah,
think too, right?
solves the
So
majority of it.
that makes sense. Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like the meal prep services for people that don't know how to cook.
Yeah.
For me, I think is it's the same approach as the medical, not medical, pharmacy world, where they treat the symptom, not the
Yeah.
solution. No, sorry, treat the symptom, not the problem, and have a solution. But yeah, basically that's what I feel the same way with a lot of things. Like, okay, you know what, you can't cook. Here's a meal prep service, so you don't have
Yeah.
to cook.
I mean, so that said, like I've
Okay.
had a few clients that I'm like, you should look into a meal prep service.
Oh
But
yeah, I'm not. Hey,
it
yeah,
was also, hey, you aren't going to get up to have a breakfast before you have to go to work, or have a or make a lunch, and then like get to the gym and then go home. But the deal was only two of your meals a day can be a meal prep service. Like you have to cook one meal still. And like the ones that do
yeah,
that do phenomenal and do actually better than the ones that typically just do the just meal prep service.
yeah. Because you do meal prep service, you don't know the effort that goes into the food that you're eating,
Yeah.
right? And then you just like shovel it in your mouth, right? But again, cooking your own food slows yourself down. Like if you cooked your own dinner from scratch and you had to sit down and eat, then you go to bed, you built in down regulation
Oh yeah.
right there,
That's why like I like the fact that I
right?
cook my wife and I dinner most nights. Like because
Yeah.
it is a little bit of time of either I can put on a random YouTube video and just let it play in the background and just be kind of chill, or
Mm.
sometimes I'll just be like, I want quiet. Just turn off everything. The
Yep.
sounds is me getting dinner ready and my dog existing. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Like honestly, like the whole reason I want to do this is one I already shared with you. I've tried so many things on my own. The whole I'll go back a little bit for what we were talking about before. I like trying things, and I realize like trying things when I think Hanse on a Thursday call, or maybe Elliot on Thursday call, they brought up what would be your ideal life, and then we're sharing just like in the moment we're sharing what would be I'm like, and I said ideal life for me would be having enough money coming in that I can always chase my curiosities. That's it.
I like that a lot, actually.
And that's in line with what you said as well, where I just trying to try things. It's not trying things to like, oh, I want this to be my identity. It's more like, oh, that's
Yeah, you're like, that
interesting.
seems
Let me
fun.
try that. Yeah, and I've done so many things on my own that I kind of want to like I want to teach myself some video editing for fun,
Yeah,
right? Or how to upload to YouTube, how to do this, how to like on this using Riverside, I can put my name in the corner. That's pretty cool. How to get a logo on there? Like I don't know how to do any of this stuff. So, but I want to record this, so now I have a reason to have a conversation with you. Now it's just hanging out with
yeah.
friends, and now I record that, and I can chop it up and put it online, and then I'm gonna get my friend Abdul. He used to work for Al Jazeera, and he used to do like the video editing for them way back in the day. So I'm like, hey, do you mind teaching me a little bit of video editing and whatnot? Because like I told my mom I'm trying to get her to give me recipes finally. So every Sunday I want to try to just cook a new recipe from scratch, and I want to instead of just cooking it, I want to have fun and record it,
Yeah, why not?
and then put it out. Why not? Like even if I just do a one long recording and just speed it up, like just as long as it's something. And I don't care about like building a
Yeah,
following or not like that. It's more like I just want to document things and learn how to do. Okay, I did that. Let me chop it up. Like I have Matt's book, and Abdul got me some stuff when he went to Egypt, and I've been so busy with school that I have, and my place is a mess. I want to clean it up first because when you record, you have to clean your house every time. And I've been enjoying like I sometimes post on my Instagram those like small little unboxing and opening things up, and then like when I put stuff on the wall here and
yeah, it's
whatnot.
great.
I kind of just did that on a whim one time. I'm like, I like this, so now I want to record more things to put on the wall and just like, oh, I got this thing, and then show it off, and then when I did it for Warpath, the hat I
Yeah,
got, I just gave Elliot all my raw files. I'm like, here you go, have fun with
you're
it. It
like,
works
do
for
whatever you
anything you
want.
can use. So yeah, because like if it helps their business and I bought it, and then the videos help them promote more, why not, right?
Plus, it's like you
And
talked
that
to.
I think that's the best way to support, because I could buy something one time, but maybe I do a recording and I'm having fun learning, and then you could use it, and then that's something that they could use
Yeah,
forever.
and
So
it's kind of like you talked about like a lot of. I think you said Eastern, but I'm going to say India just specifically. You said like a lot of
okay,
their culture, the money stays within the culture, and like builds
yeah,
that
I
type of
remember my family
community
like
that
yeah.
like, oh hey, I know the person you go talk to for that thing, and it's everything stays.
I was talking to my mom, and she was relating like because that like they grew up right after India's independence when there was nothing there. So you definitely scrounged for your family, right? You didn't just waste
Yeah,
money and give it out. You cooked everything at home. So it's I think it's I wanted to say like the more you look at world history and world whatever, it's interesting to like maybe because of British colonization in maybe because of that in the aftermath is why they're more family centric and things like that as well. You never know. It might not just be the culture, it might not just be the religion, it might be because something was done to
that
them
also would
as a
actually make
cult
sense.
as a right. So I had this thought recently, like not everything is just Eastern, Western, whatever. Um, like if you go in the states, you look at, and I'm just going to go by headlines here. You look at communities that are affected worse by things. The community comes together.
Oh yeah,
So I think the same thing. India as a whole and that whole part of the world was affected by Britain, right? So they came together to a degree, way more than they would have to maybe in the past where there was no problems. Because over here is a very good life over here, and you see that some people, neighbors, don't know each
yeah.
other. So
I mean, I'll
it
be
could be just
honest.
that too.
There's my apartment complex has 5 units. We know our neighbors
Yeah,
directly across from us, and I know what the other three look like, but I don't know the other one's names.
yeah, and you might just know them as in you just say hi in the hallway too. You don't even
Yeah.
know them, right?
I
Right?
if I saw them out on the street, I probably wouldn't know it was them. I've
Yeah,
also maybe
right.
seen
So
them because the other three moved in. It would have been probably 3, 4 months ago. I've maybe
yeah,
seen the combo of the three 5 times. Like I do, my schedule and their
yeah,
schedules also just don't line up.
yeah, yeah. So it's one of those things like where, and that's not also just that's not just because you don't know them. It's because we now have a cell phone in our hand, and you don't need to leave the house
Yeah.
for things. Where in the past you would have to, like in India, just because you're out in the back doing laundry and stuff, you talk to the neighbor in the back doing their laundry, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then as technology and things get more convenient, you don't talk to the neighbor as much. You go in your house and do everything inside the walls, right? So I think that a lot of these things that they think are east and west might just be mechanical. It's a hardware thing, not a software thing,
I mean, that
right?
would make sense because, like, I'd argue that this might be one of the greatest inventions we've ever done as a society. Also,
100%.
causes a lot of problems.
You know what? Does it cause problems, or just is it a different way of living? That's all it is.
I mean, I guess that's fair.
Because like my mom has a cell phone. She uses WhatsApp like crazy. She communicates on it a lot. She's not consuming on Instagram like we do,
Yeah.
but she's using the technology very well, and she has potlucks at her house, parties at her house, people coming to each other's houses all the time. This tool has allowed for being more social
Yeah.
in person for my mom. It's interesting, right? Because the new generation, they don't use it to be social in person.
No. But I mean, to be said,
So,
without that device, I don't have
yeah,
friends in Canada like you.
yeah, and that's the thing. But if we went just before COVID, we would meet online, but we probably wouldn't be the groups wouldn't blow up as much because there wasn't video like this, and people weren't like using Zoom like
Yeah.
crazy,
Because Zoom was there, but it wasn't
right?
as good.
No, it was like a business
Yeah.
thing, right? So because of COVID is why friendships that are like before what would be pen pals,
Hmm.
like they you write to each other and whatever, but now there's so many distractions in the world because of technology and COVID made this happen. We have this now and this format that people ingest podcasts and things like that because you couldn't connect with people before. So
Mm.
video podcasts blew up. Podcasts were around
Yeah.
already, but video podcasts blew up.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I don't think I would have thought of it quite like that, but like I also moved 500 miles away from where I went to high school. So like the
Oh
couple
yeah,
friends that I was still in contact with, like it had always been through the phone. It's always been through text and things like
yeah,
that. So I was like, oh, the more it became a regular thing, the more I'm like, oh yeah, like I've been doing this forever. Like of course this is a thing.
yeah. The one thing for me is like I just still am not used to talking on video on my phone. I don't mind this at all. I
Yeah.
like this because I'm sitting comfortably and have a conversation. I just don't enjoy holding my hand like this and talking because my hand gets cold. To be very honest, because like my mom tried with me, I'm like, I told my mom, just call me, I'll talk with you. It just I don't like holding this here because like I don't mind talking to my mom, I'll call her anytime. But holding like this is just weird. And then we start talking, we distracted when we're looking at each other, we don't listen to each other. Like so, I don't know. For me, just I haven't been able to do that yet. I tried, and then I tried the whole sending a video voice note to people instead of just like a
Yeah.
text, and I'm like, it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
So
The voice note is nice because like hearing like your friend's voice, like it does have a yeah,
inflections and everything,
it's
yeah.
also definitely like a different feeling. But like I feel you on that. Like it can get hard, especially if like you say
Yeah.
something, you're like, wait, that's not what I meant. You're like, man, do I have to start the whole
Yeah.
thing over?
Yeah, that does happen
And then like,
sometimes. But the only reason I don't like voice notes is because if you want to refer back to it, you have to figure out which voice note it
yeah,
is, right?
and like depending on
So
what app you send it on, like they go away sometimes.
I forgot
Yeah.
about that too. I know like on Android, I use Google phones. For a while, every time you send a voice note, they transcribe it for you. So you have the voice note and the transcription
Oh,
underneath
that's
it
kind of
just
nice.
automatically. So I kind of wish every app did that because sometimes I'm in a position where I can't listen to the voice note. I would love a transcription just
Yeah.
pop up, right? And then I can reply by text saying that, hey, I just can't hop
Yeah.
on. I can't make a
Oh
voice
man,
note
that was the
or
best thing
whatever.
that when phones started doing that for voicemails, well, they're like, oh, we'll just transcribe the voicemail so you can just read it. I'm like, oh, cool, I can look at this real quick.
Yeah,
Oh, cool, I don't need to worry about that right now.
yeah, yeah. And then they'll be like, this is their voicemails anymore, anyways.
I mean,
You're like, why are you just send me a text afterwards?
that's my dad's approach now. Like he'll call me if I don't answer and he like kind of needs to talk to me, he'll try calling me again. And then
Yeah,
like if it's like, oh, I just kind of want to talk to you after two calls, he'll send me a text of call me when you get a chance. If he needs to like
yeah,
actually give me information, he'll call me once. If I don't answer, he'll text me like, call me as soon as you can. I'm like, cool. Those are two
yeah.
different things. Got it, Dad.
Yeah, with shift work, I had to figure that out because I needed to be able to sleep and not my phone ring during
Yeah.
the day. So I told my mom like I have it set up so that cause I don't even keep my cell phone in my bedroom when I go to bed, but I have basically all my technology set up that whatever technology I'm sitting on, if you text me, I will get that
Hmm.
message. Right? So I tell her like, if my phone's not near me, just text me on anything, text message, WhatsApp, whatever you want. It all shows up on the same thing. Like on every computer, every tablet, every phone, it all shows up. And I do that on purpose because the shift work sometimes I'm asleep, I'm not able to pick up right away, or if I'm just sitting in another room, my phone's charging. If it's an emergency, I want to be able to make sure that I'll be able to get back in
Yeah.
touch with you, right? Because we don't have. I'm debating about just getting a landline for emergencies because of that. Well,
Can you
parents are
even
getting
get a
older, so
landline?
yeah, you can get through the internet. You can get like through your internet. So
I haven't even ever thought about having a landline, so like I just kind of assumed.
well, I was thinking about it like because like let's just think like we're all getting older, right? Parents are getting older. Let's say there's an emergency and they call you and you're asleep, your phone's on silent, then you don't wake up for another 8 hours.
Buddy, I live 2/3 of the country away from my parents.
Yeah, but a phone call and talking to make them console them when they need it is sometimes all they need,
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
right? So if they call it, let's say a car accident happens, 2/3 of the world away, wouldn't you want to know immediately still?
I mean, yeah, but like I'm probably just gonna get a text from somebody of like, hey, such and such was in an
No,
accident.
but you're
Call them when you get a chance.
totally. Totally. But if it's an emergency and whatever, you're still the son,
Yeah.
right? You're still. It's one of those things that I'm saying, like, I'm debating about getting it just for. I won't give it to anybody else. It's gonna be my mom, my brother. Only family will get that number,
Will your brother
right?
even call you
So,
from the other side of the world?
oh yeah, yeah, you can just call it. Everybody can call it easy now.
Huh.
Yeah, you can even get phones like landline phones that would be hooked up to different social media stuff if you want to.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, for emergencies, because like let's say it's not even a life or death thing. You're somewhere and his card's not working. He needs some money to go. I can transfer money right away,
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
right? Like if because family's all around the world and like even though my parents are like just 20 minutes away, if I'm asleep and I don't hear about for 8 hours,
Yeah. No, that
right?
makes sense.
So
I've just kind of never
yeah,
thought
it's
about
just
the
one of those
fact
things
of
that
getting a international call on a landline.
yeah. Well, I don't have family here. We like where you would go for Thanksgiving dinner here. We would always have to travel to India, Dubai, or England to visit family.
That makes sense. Kind of
Yeah.
forgot it was just you and your
So
parents.
yeah, and my brother too. Now he's over there too now. But yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I never had a big family here, so I don't know that experience of life. But it's one of those things that like because we're in the generation from landlines to cell phones, and people are getting older now. In case there is an emergency and you are asleep and your phone's on silent, how do they reach you? And especially if like I'm leaving my phone in my on my desk here in my bedroom over there, so I won't hear anything.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I'm still trying to figure out. Like maybe there's a setting on here where if she calls, no matter what, it rings. But then what if I'm at a meeting and it starts ringing in the middle, right? So it's one of those things that I don't know. It's just a thought that's popped in my head in the last
Yeah.
month, and I'm like, I got a landline before for a business before because I'm like, if somebody calls me going there, goes to voicemail, it's not on my phone, I can go out. I'll just treat that as my business line. I don't need if it's
That makes
business
sense. Yeah.
like you don't need to be able to be available right away all the
No.
time. Especially if, like most business, like I can't do anything immediately. You give me new information for, let's say, a mortgage or insurance or real estate or anything. I am okay collating. I'm reaching out to somebody else in their business, and they'll give me sometimes immediate response or 24 hours.
Yeah. And like even in mine, like
Right?
I say you'll get a response by 24 hours. To be honest, it's
Yeah,
typically way, way faster than that. It's probably closer to 12 max, but like
yeah,
still say that you'll get a response within 24 hours.
yeah. And you know what? Like I think having that separation a little bit with work is good because people want immediate response all the time,
Yeah.
but everybody wants an immediate response all the time. So it doesn't really work, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'd rather do a good job for a person than do a fast
Yeah.
job.
And like that's one of those things like I try to have like a cutoff time of like, oh, I'm not going to respond to this until the morning. But also like
Yeah,
there's times like my phone's in my hand. Why would I not respond? I saw it. Why wouldn't I respond?
I have talked to maybe I have two phones. Always have for like the last five
Yeah.
years. Don't even need two phones. In the beginning, I didn't even need two phones. I had two phones for a reason because this phone is my personal phone. This phone is if anybody contacts me for anything work related or anything business related. That way, if they message me, I don't sweep the notifications away and miss it. It stays there. And that one I respond to during like normal business
Hmm.
hours because that allows me the space because sometimes in the moment you might reply quickly, but if you reply quickly, you miss actually doing the full job because you're like, oh, I should do this, this, and this so that I can plan for the future so that's just easier. Right. So
Oh, that makes sense.
I think having that separation is very important. Like if you have a business and you have your personal phone, that's great. Have a business phone, have it separate. It just makes life more
Yeah.
peaceful.
I've thought about even just doing like just re-downloading WhatsApp and using WhatsApp for all training clients and then like that way I only look at it and I know it's just clients. But
Yeah, I like the separation. The physical separation is why I wanted it
okay.
because like you can have it and you'll still be like, okay, I'll click it, but then maybe you'll open it and ignore it, and then you're busy or whatever, you forget to reply. Having the physical separation is like again, the phone is still with you. I just keep that one on silent more so, right? And then when I'm sitting at my like I don't know how your setup is. Like I'm sitting here where maybe on my laptop with my training stuff, I have it here. and so I have all my stuff here for that client here instead of carrying it all with me all the
Mm.
time and looking at my small screen and replying. So
Yeah, I would say unlike that, I do typically bring my laptop with me most places.
yeah,
Like it kind of just
yeah,
lives in
I'm
my
getting
backpack at
happy
this
with that
point.
too. Yeah, I'll be honest, like, but that's a lifestyle that I think if you can have it, like, that'd be pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's
All that
yeah. So
freedom.
that's one of the goals of really pushing to grow the online side, like being able to have that
Yeah.
bit more freedom. Where like, yo, if I feel like going to work in a coffee shop, I can go sit down and work in a coffee shop and do all that.
Are you doing YouTube stuff too or no?
No, I'm gonna start basically dual posting so that some of my stuff starts going onto like YouTube Short.
On the
Yeah,
shorts? Yeah.
like just and like
Are they gonna be doing like Sam, like he's doing like some training videos where he just puts it on YouTube?
probably gonna start doing that again. I did it a bit in the past, and I know that it's probably a good idea again. So
Well, not even for clients. Like again, I don't know YouTube at all, but Matt obviously knows. So you have the best person to talk to. If you have a bunch of data, like a database of content on there, and you slowly just start making some passive income, just helps the
oh,
wallet,
for
right?
sure.
So yeah, my buddy that I visited in Costa Rica, Josh, he just basically goes around with his camera. Doesn't even he just uses a cell phone, and he just goes around with that and records walking things in Costa Rica, puts it online. He's like, yeah, I'm making like $10 a day now without trying. So he's making what's I mean like 300 bucks a month, and he's like, I'm gonna keep on doing this. He might be up to $20 now or whatever, but 300 bucks a month just in the past. He's like, I have like 200 videos now up though. He's like, he said that like I just been doing it, and he just posted up, no
Yeah,
editing, no nothing, just puts it up there. He doesn't really talk too much in there or anything, so yeah, people
yeah.
see
I
it.
was gonna say there's like tons of videos of like people just walking around cities and just like
Yeah,
walking around like either famous but not even famous parts, just like different parts of like
yeah,
and like that's their content. And it's like couple hour
yeah,
long videos, like no editing, no anything. It's just walk.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? When I was like preparing for different things before, I would go online and look for study music. So like the soft study music, and uh, some people just recorded them studying with like copyright free music and playing. So it's like you're studying with
Yeah.
them. It was interesting. I'm like, man, this kid's so smart. He's just studying on his own. He's playing copyright free music, putting it on there, and other people put it on in the background so they don't feel alone. I'm like, that is so
Yo, it
smart.
works. Like, why not?
It does. Yeah, it's one of the reasons like I got this camera here, and I also want to get an audio recording thing so that when it's raining outside, I can record like an hour of raining and then have background music,
Oh, that's nice.
right? Or background
Yeah.
sound. So I want to do that too. Like I just again, this is just stuff I've always like curious about how to do it. I don't even care about making money. It's more like I'm just curious about how the
Yeah,
process
you're like, I
works.
would like to
And
find
then
this out.
yeah, so that's what it is. But you know what? We've been talking for an hour and 17
Oh,
minutes.
wow.
I think that's pretty good
Yeah.
for a type
Yeah,
one.
this was nice.
And then I'm gonna see how this works afterwards, and I'll try to download it. And if I can put it on Google Drive for you, so you can chop it up however you
Yeah,
want.
sweet.
Put the Brian Beers part on there, so when shit talks it, put it on there publicly.
Gotta instantly
Um,
find like how to
but
cut that.
yeah, so I'll give you the whole file, so you can do whatever you want with
Cool.
it, right? Because maybe there's other things that you might be able to do. This is the first one, and whatever you like to use, you got permission to
Sweet.
use. Just use it, and that's the whole purpose of this. I want to record long-term form content. I want to put it on my Substack and on
Yeah.
YouTube, and then I'll give you the raw file as well. So, like, because I want to learn this, because I figure if I learn this and then I learn how to chop it up, there's just too many things to learn.
Yeah.
So I just want to learn the long form. I'm going to give it to you to do the short form, and you tell me some cool ways afterwards if it works.
I
Okay?
was gonna say, I know there's a couple like AI places that you can like,
Yeah, but you know what? AI will put what they think is best,
well, no, no, no. Like,
and
there's
you
some
will
that
put
you
what you.
can like, hey, give me the clip of this, and like you can like enter the
Okay,
times.
maybe even Riverside does it. I
Oh,
don't even know
yeah, I
yet,
don't
right?
know
So maybe
much
even
about
this does it.
Riverside, so
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to hit stop for now. 1 second. All right, stopping. Let's see what